The San Fernando Valley and Westside Los Angeles are both part of Los Angeles County, and each side has its own specific pros and cons. I grew up and went to school in the San Fernando Valley, but I moved to Westside Los Angeles in my early 20s. There are some areas where I feel like the San Fernando Valley actually has the Westside beat, and then of course there are other areas where the Westside completely wins. My name's Pearce and I work in real estate in Los Angeles, helping people move from all over, and today we're going to look at the differences between living in the west side of Los Angeles versus living in the San Fernando Valley. Now, the two factors that I really wanted to focus on and compare today are the weather in the San Fernando Valley versus the west side and the cost of living in real estate between the two. Los Angeles is generally known for having great weather, but depending on which area specifically in LA that you actually live, the weather can vary greatly. You're not going to see any snow in Los Angeles, but you do have the close by San Bernardino mountain ranges and other areas where you can go on a weekend trip and really experience the snow. You can go to Big Bear and things like that. So it's not really a big deal if you do want to get to see some snow. And when it comes to living in the San Fernando Valley, you're going to be experiencing a subtropical, semi-arid climate. This basically means you're going to be experiencing some hot and sometimes very hot summers, and you're going to have very minimal amounts of precipitation throughout the year. If anything, very comfortable temperatures for about 9 months out of the year, and then during the summer or the hottest 3 months of the year, you might see some pretty hot spikes in temperature. In fact, some places in the San Fernando Valley recently broke their own record heats, like Burbank and Woodland Hills recently saw 112 degrees Fahrenheit this summer. So although this does happen and you'll see some super hot triple-digit days above 100 degrees are really few and far between. They don't happen that often. And usually the neighborhoods towards the southern end of the valley, towards the Santa Monica Mountains and Ventura Boulevard and those areas, are going to receive a little bit cooler temperatures than areas towards the northern end, like Porter Ranch and areas like that. And as someone who grew up in the valley, I know I spent a lot of time playing in the water during my summers as a kid. I definitely remember the heat really affecting me and me wanting to go jump in the pool or go to the ocean or things like that. But, you know, it's something that you learn to live with, and it's really not that bad. I mean, you get hot summers in a lot of different places. It's just something that is a factor in the valley. There's definitely going to be those outlier days where you just need to get out of the heat, or you have to go against Gavin Newsom's recommendations and completely blast that AC of yours. But if you're looking at averages, the San Fernando Valley's hottest month is August, with averages at about 91 degrees during the day, so it's not terrible. And if you are able to handle the hot months of the year, the other 3/4 of the year in the valley have great average daily temperatures ranging from about 65 to 80 degrees per day. It's a dry climate, so you don't have to deal with that heat combined with the humidity, which in my opinion makes things like 10 times worse. Shout out Florida. And as far as rainfall goes, you don't get much of it, but it really does make you appreciate a rainy day. Most rainfall in the valley is going to occur between the months of December and March. As someone who personally loves rain, I always do like to note and remember that people who live in a more sunny climate with less rainy days tend to be less depressed. Obviously, there's science that goes into that between, the vitamin D and the serotonin and all that. So I definitely think the amount of sunshine you get in the valley is a positive thing. Another thing to take note of that people often overlook but definitely plays a role in the valley is the wind. I personally enjoy the wind in the valley, and I really think it brings a nice breeze to a lot of days that just need that extra touch of breeze. It's something that I would definitely prefer having in the valley than not. However, the Santa Ana winds that hit the San Fernando Valley can reach up to 35 miles per hour. So just be aware that there will be random times of very high wind in the valley. You might see your neighbor's umbrella landing in your pool or something like that. You probably won't see things like trampolines flying over fences and that kind of stuff. We'll save that for those tornado states. So San Fernando Valley has a dry climate with great weather for most of the year. Just note that you will be receiving some pretty hot summers and some pretty windy days here and there. Now let's move on and look at the weather in Westside Los Angeles. Westside also has a lot of varying weather and temperatures and things like that depending on where exactly that you're living. You're going to have multiple factors affecting the climate here, such as the Pacific Ocean and the Santa Monica mountain range and things like that. As I'm making this video midday, the temperature currently in Westside Los Angeles is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty typical of the type of temperature you're going to see in Westside throughout the year. The average daily temperature here ranges from about 67 degrees to about 84 degrees throughout the year. 67 towards the winter months and 84 towards the summer months. So while your hottest month in the valley receives averages up to 91 degrees, you're only going to be seeing those averages go up to about 84 degrees in the west side, so you can see that temperature difference there. The most important thing to note about this is you don't get that extreme heat that you do in the valley. While you do still have some hot days in the west side, you're definitely not receiving that valley heat that we were talking about. And we mentioned how the ocean plays a role on the west side, where you're going to be seeing higher humidity levels in this area. And when I say higher humidity levels, I mean very comfortable humidity levels, nothing like Florida or East Coast states or anything like that, but just higher humidity than you'll find in the valley. Some of the most year-round perfect places to live are areas like Pacific Palisades, Playa del Rey, Venice, and a lot of these neighborhoods that are very close to the ocean. You get average temperatures in the 70s in these places and a really nice cool ocean breeze, and it's just really great weather with sun year-round. Really great places to live, some of the best in the world. So while San Fernando Valley and Westside Los Angeles both have great year-round weather and people move from all over to come enjoy it, that doesn't mean that the west side doesn't have a clear leg up on the valley, especially because of the summertime and a little bit of that ocean breeze and ocean air that you get. The west side is going to take the win right there. But regardless of which one you live in, you're going to receive about 330 days of sunshine per year, which is one of the greatest parts about living in Los Angeles. Another important thing to note when we compare these two areas is the cost of living in real estate. I'm going to give you the current cost of living in both areas, mostly looking at housing prices, but just keep in mind that the real estate market has seen a hike recently. For example, prices of homes in the valley are up about 11 or 12% in the last 12 months. We do expect to see this to go down a little bit. It's hard to tell exactly where the market's going to go, but we have seen some serious slowdown in the real estate market just based on how long houses are being listed on the market and how they're selling for above or below asking price and things like that. Just to give you an idea of how hot the real estate market was last year, more homes in Los Angeles sold above asking price than below asking price. So the median home price for homes sold in the San Fernando Valley in the last 12 months is about $911,000. Now, if we break down how this works out between smaller and larger homes, 1 bedrooms in the Valley averaged about $400,000, 2 bedrooms in the Valley averaged about $650,000, 3 bedrooms in the Valley averaged about $890,000, 4 bedrooms in the Valley averaged about $1.1 million, and 5 bedrooms or more in the Valley averaged about $1.8 million. Now, a house located in Calabasas is going to cost you a lot more than a house located in Van Nuys, so just keep that in mind and take these numbers with a grain of salt. Also, I wanted to note that luxury real estate has particularly taken off and seen a huge influx in sales and prices and things like that during the pandemic, and because of it, so that's going to skew these numbers a little bit towards the higher end. Moving over to Westside Los Angeles, the median home price sold in the last 12 months is about $1.65 million. This works out to 1-bedroom homes on the west side averaging about $675,000, 2 bedrooms on the west side averaging about $1.1 million, 3 bedrooms on the west side averaging about $1.7 million, 4 bedrooms on the west side averaging about $2.9 million, and 5 bedrooms plus on the west side averaging over $5.3 million. So you clearly have a lot more expensive homes and real estate located on Westside Los Angeles when compared to the Valley. Obviously, with better location and weather, which sort of go hand in hand, you're paying a bit of a steeper premium for the real estate. But once again, Westside Los Angeles has some of the most beautiful real estate and homes in the world. Some very expensive homes sell there, so I definitely want to say these averages seem a little bit skewed to the higher end. For example, if you look at some amazing Westside Los Angeles neighborhoods like Westwood, the median home price is actually about $500,000 cheaper than it is on the entirety of the west side, so you can kind of see the differences already there. You know, you might have Bel Air coming in here and skewing these prices a little bit and things like that, but it is a general rule of thumb that it is a lot more expensive to purchase real estate on Westside Los Angeles than the Valley. One of the most important things that comes to play here with the weather is the location. Los Angeles truly began being built up a lot around 100 years ago, and the west side had a lot of the most desirable locations that really got built up early on. So as people started owning property in these areas, the real estate obviously got more desirable with more people moving in, and Los Angeles just expanded over the years. So you don't really have as many new developments on the west side. If you do have new developments, it's usually going to be things that are being torn down and replaced by something, not so much new construction projects being built out and stuff like that, because there's just not a lot of free space. On the other hand, in the San Fernando Valley, you got a lot of these new developments that are still being built to this day. An example of that would be the Toll Brothers building up all these communities in Porter Ranch and things like that. And when it comes to renting apartments on the west side versus the Valley, it's hard to give you an exact number because there are so many different areas, but I'd say you're looking at about $800 more to rent a place on the west side compared to a similar place in the Valley. Per month, that is. With that being said, I'd expect to pay somewhere around $2,000 or a little bit more for a nice 1-bedroom apartment in the Valley, whereas you're going to be paying closer to $3,000 for that same apartment over on the west side. Hopefully we're going to see these prices drop a little bit in the future as time goes on, but it's definitely a very expensive time to live in any area around the United States right now. So in this video we went a little bit more in depth on the weather in the valley versus the west side of Los Angeles. Both areas are going to receive a lot of sunshine, be very dry, get low precipitation, but the west side you get a little bit more of that humidity, that ocean air, and that coolness that especially helps you out during those hot summer months. The west side neighborhoods definitely get these benefits of sitting between the Santa Monica mountain ranges and the Pacific Ocean, and that nice coolness that it brings with it. But we saw how those benefits carry over into pricing, where you typically find much more expensive real estate and higher cost of living on the west side versus the San Fernando Valley. Just keep in mind that real estate located in those good areas in the west side of Los Angeles is going to be almost twice as expensive as the good real estate in the valley. I actually have the price per square foot listed for over 20 neighborhoods in the valley and west side Los Angeles on my website at Pearce.la. So if you want to check out the specific square foot pricing of different neighborhoods, you can go ahead and compare them on my website. So I hope this video helped you distinguish a little bit better between San Fernando Valley and Westside Los Angeles. My name's Pearce and I work on a real estate team in Los Angeles helping people move from all over. So if you did find this video valuable at all, make sure to subscribe so that you can stay updated on a weekly basis of all the videos that I'm going to be putting out.